Hey folks, we're at the Gulf Island National Seashore.
Yep, we are in the Fort Pickens area of the Gulf Islands National Seashore near Pensacola Beach here in Florida. Today we are in the campground at Fort Pickens, and we're going to hike out from the campground and go explore the western end of these Gulf Islands here at Fort Pickens. Hopefully see the fort and see what kind of wildlife is in the area, huh buddy?
Yep.
This was a nice little trail that literally leads from our campsite out to the bay. Occasionally you'll see lots of shorebirds and even dolphins swimming here in this bay. What'd you see down there, Catfish?
Bananas. Next thing you know, we're gonna find some minions.
Minions. Check out this path here, buddy, and see where it leads.
It's amazing how different plants are in Florida from Indiana.
You got that right. Love the live oaks. Here's something else you don't see in Indiana, where all of your trails are covered in ancient shells. Just thousands of years worth of shells. Something else worth mentioning is here at Fort Pickens is the northern terminus of the Florida Trail, National Scenic Trail. Right now we have come up on the Battery Worth, one of the many military batteries here at Fort Pickens. So we're going to check it out. Up here on top of Battery Worth, you get a really good view of a lot of the other military installations here at Fort Pickens. Well, my plan was to hike on out to these other batteries down this road, but I don't want to get kicked out of the park. Apparently they are closed for whatever reason. I'm guessing storm damage probably. So, we'll meander the other ways. We've arrived at the main compound here at Fort Pickens. Established 1834.
Yep.
Let's head in over here.
Yep.
Now, Catfish, you see how what you're standing on has that curve to it?
Yep.
When this was an active base, there would have been cannons right there. And they were on wheels. The wheels could turn on that curve to angle whichever direction they needed to.
Makes sense.
So every window you see that's got this curved base. At one time there was a cannon in there.
Cool.
We're heading into the interior of the base. Back in 1886, 400 Apache prisoners were kept here, including the famous Geronimo, a medicine man and warrior. He and 15 other Apache men were held at Fort Pickens, while their families were held back in St. Augustine. So you can get a good look of the interior. All of these would have been armed with guns. All of your supplies kept inside of these things. That's a unique double arch construction there. Helps distribute the weight. You can see the notch in the walls over there. That was so that their guns stationed here could swing inward a bit. You can see a lot of age and cracks in that ceiling.
That's for sure.
Kind of makes you a little bit worried about standing underneath it, huh? It's wet and dripping and cracked. Now made our way up on top of Fort Pickens. It's one of the main cannons still here.
Yep. Big old cannon.
They say that cannon can weigh up to, how heavy did they say?
50,000 pounds.
Yeah. And you get a look out at what it's aiming at. There's more batteries out there. Lots of the Gulf of Mexico. So if there's any invasions coming in from this area, that cannon could just fire. And it had a complete circular base, meaning it could turn 360 degrees, fire whichever direction was needed. You can really get a look at that, how it would spin around on that half circle there. Been something to see this place active, huh, bud?
Yep.
So walking from the main Fort Pickens installation, heading down the north side of the island, we're almost to the tip. I should mention there across the bay, it's Pensacola Bay, and across there is actually I think it's the Pensacola Naval Air Base. It's where the Blue Angels are actually located. So if you've ever seen the Blue Angels flying in one of their air shows, this is where they're from. So this is Battery Truman. This is a more modernized battery that after the Civil War, the old style guns and such have kind of become obsolete. Well, that's cool. I want to check this out real quick. From the outside it didn't look like it was that much, but there's definitely more to it. I don't know what they would have kept in these kind of rooms. I don't know if they've been like quarters, or if they've been where you keep some of the artillery. Definitely has some North American knuckleheads in here tagging this area. Yep, lots and lots of graffiti. And you know, if graffiti reaches, I think it's 100 years of age, it's then considered historic and would be illegal to remove it. So this is where their big old guns would have sat, catfish.
Yep.
One here and one on the other side. And been able to reach all around the bay and out into the sea. So we're still on the bay side, but we're right at the tip. The Pensacola Pass is directly to our left. We're approaching the corner up here that's got all the bird action going on. We're staying inland a little bit on the beach, hoping that they don't just all fly away. There they go. We made it to the pass, Pensacola Pass. So we're on the end of the Santa Rosa Island, and across the pass over there is Perdido Key. And you can kind of see the change in the water color, where the water from the bay that has the rivers and such flow into it, and the waters of the Gulf meet. Even being overcast, it sure is beautiful out here. Well, we just got a quick dolphin sighting, but now it is time to head back inland, back into the fort. So it looks like these old ruins are off limits. Yeah, they're in a little worse shape than some of the other areas, but still really cool to just think and imagine what it must have been like for the soldiers back in the late 1800s, early 1900s to man all of this. So we're now standing on Battery Pane, which is actually the only guns here that ever caused a fatality. Fort Pickens never actually seen combat. It was here to protect, and fortunately was never truly needed for that purpose. But the guns they had set up here in 1922, when they were test firing them, this gun got tore off of its mount, flew back, and killed one of our own. And that is the only fatality caused by any of the armaments here at Fort Pickens. So I think that's pretty much our tour of the main section of Fort Pickens. So I think it's time for us to start working our way back towards the campground. Alright, so we've now kind of finished our exploring of the Fort Pickens area down here at the tip of our island. We are taking the very beginning of the Florida National Scenic Trail back to the campground.
Ellen.
Oh, okay, stop and get pictures. So in case anybody was wondering, the Florida Trail goes right through our campground here at Fort Pickens. We're at the Blackbird Marsh Trail here, and we might as well check it out while we're here, right, Catfish?
Yep.
Another heron spotted on the Florida Trail. coming up on that heron. Just curious to see if it stays or if it flies. So we're coming up on Battery Langdon, this hill area in front of us. And of course, if you know much about Florida topography, there's not really hills in this area. So this is definitely unnatural. We are now on top of Battery Langdon. Pretty nice view up here, huh, Catfish?
Yep.
So here at Battery Langdon, this was the largest gun as part of the Fort Pickens. It would have set up on top here somewhere. And they said when they first fired that thing, the concussion was so strong, caused the people to bleed from their ears and their mouth. And the guy shooting it blew his hat off and he split his pants. So they didn't actually bury most of these batteries until the World War II, I believe it said, just to kind of camouflage them from potential airstrikes and airplanes. We have finally arrived at the Gulf of Mexico. Been kind of avoiding it, honestly, just because it's been so windy. It was very windy on the bay side, even windier ocean side. It's calmed down a little bit. We're about an hour away from sunset. We decided to take the bay side back to the campground. So the shoreline here is pretty eroded, but I always think it's kind of cool to see all the layers of shells. I mean, who knows how long it took to make that. This whole side, shells, just full of shells. Look here.
Nice.
Yeah. What you got, Catfish?
Looks like a really big dead fish.
Ah, nice big fish carcass.
Yeah. Hey Dad, I think this is the spot back to our campfire.
I think you're right. Well, folks, that pretty much wraps up our adventure here in the Gulf Islands National Seashore in the Fort Pickens area on Santa Rosa Island, just south of Pensacola. It's a great adventure. Catfish, what was your favorite parts?
I really liked the bird action on the beaches. That was really cool, and it was like entertaining, like learning about how the fort worked and all of the batteries and such.
Yeah, the history.
Yeah.
The history was probably one of my favorite parts. It just trying to imagine and comprehend what it would have been like in the late 1800s, manning that fort just in case there was an attack coming in from water, and then later in the 1900s, potential for attack from the air. So that was really cool. But of course, we are the Sloans, and our main attention is always going to be on the nature. And Catfish loves the wildlife. Anything with wildlife, that's his #1 thing. And we've seen tons of birds. He took more pictures than I can imagine right now. And obviously, the scenery is just amazing. Always amazing down here on the Gulf Coast. So I hope you enjoyed our adventure. Make sure you like the video and subscribe to our channel if you haven't already. So till next time,
Peace out.